Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, your Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is November 7th, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery. You can see British Columbia, Washington, Oregon here. Check out the cool Arctic air moving off the coast of British Columbia here, back into this low pressure system, spinning back over the Pacific Northwest here. Thunderstorm chance along the coastal areas here. As you can see, the cumuliform clouds moving around. A little bit of snow up towards Bellingham this morning, sticking around a bit. Mostly just a cold rain elsewhere. Maybe some snow on the north slopes of the Olympics here. And there may be an upslope play this afternoon and evening across the Kitsap Peninsula here. We're starting to bring some outflow winds across the Fraser River Valley here, also across the San Juans this morning as well. We'll take a look at that in some detail. This is going to pivot down the coast and bring a pretty strong storm down towards California as well. And we'll also take a look at the extended forecast here near the end of the video. Now taking a look here, the HRRR 3KM, you can see today that upper level low spinning and that thunderstorm threat as we go through the day today for the southwest Washington coast all the way down through Northern California there. Now this is for really any place east of the Cascades. Arctic cold throughout the week, near record cold for some locations, gusty east winds, dangerous wind chills are possible. Here is Pendleton, Oregon's graphic. You can see some areas down into the teens out there. Spokane here showing if you're going eastbound on Highway 2 and I-90 all the way through eastern Washington, and it's going to pick up towards Spokane through Idaho and Montana today. Some snowfall accumulations northeast Washington as well, especially for the higher terrain there. And this is looking down towards California, Sierra Nevada, dangerous travel going on down there. Pretty good snow accumulations coming 1 to 4 feet above 4,000 feet. And you can see wind gusts 50 to 60 miles per hour. A lot of travelers get caught off guard here. They just think it's California and Nevada and they're going to drive back and forth and not have any problems. But I saw that there was quite a bit of disruption the last snowfall that fell a few days ago across the region. So heads up if you're traveling down there through California. And also through the Sierra Nevada all the way up towards the Siskiyous across the Oregon-California border up there as well. Now taking a look here, this is actually for the Sierra Nevada as well, talking about mounts up to 6 feet. So major impact expected across the higher terrain of the Sierra Nevada through California. This is also going to stretch down towards Southern California shown here. You can see falling Tuesday night to 4,000 feet might affect some of the higher passes there. Some snow can be expected up there, some locally heavy amounts as well. And this will definitely catch the Southern California people off guard. When it rains, it catches people off guard down there. So watch out for that in the higher terrain. Some snowfall is possible. Now taking a look here, looks like this morning's UW run is actually picking up pretty well. Some of this accumulation happening up towards Bellingham here. And then you can kind of see it highlight the Kitsap Peninsula as we go through this afternoon and evening, showing some accumulation out here. How much this will actually stick on the ground, it's going to be a little bit marginal for it to be sticking too much, but you might see a little bit of accumulation out there in the Kitsap Peninsula as well. And some of the north slopes of the Olympic Mountains here as we're getting the Fraser River outflow coming across the San Juans here and across the Puget Sound, and that kind of bumps into the Olympic Mountains there, rises, cools, condenses, and causes some snowfall. But you can see the Seattle Metro generally remains snow-free. You might see a few wet snowflakes mixed in and some of the heavier showers, but not a big dynamic snowstorm by any means. Now you can see here 100-meter wind speed. You can see as we go through this morning, you can see that Fraser River Valley start to flow outwards here across the region, and that runs into the Olympic Mountains here. But it also brings some drier air up here, and that's what's probably causing that snow accumulation up towards Bellingham this morning. And then as you can see, we go through tomorrow afternoon, and you can see the north flow coming down the Puget Sound. So as we clear out, it's going to probably be some nice views of the mountains with some new snow on them and whatnot as we get this north flow, and we start to dry out a bit for a few days. We'll take a look at the extended forecast here in a moment, but you can see the northeast gusty winds coming across eastern Washington as well. North winds coming through the Okanagan River Valley, another cold air conduit, as I mentioned yesterday, extends all the way into the interior of British Columbia here. Now you can see here, this is at 100 meters just off the surface, and you can see that cold air coming off the continent and back into Oregon and California and kind of riding back over the top of Washington here. Kind of a good example of this Arctic air making its way off the continent and wrapping back into California here. As we go through the extended, and you see that Arctic air mass kind of kicks off, things start to get a bit more variable here. Then you can see some Pacific southerlies coming on in through towards this weekend here, but we're going to start warming up a bit as we get there. Now taking a look here, snow depth in inches. Here's the European. As we go through this afternoon, it picked up a little bit of the snow falling up here across some of the Bellingham area. But as we go through this afternoon, look at this, showing the Kitsap Peninsula again with a little bit of accumulation, even kind of highlighting the Seattle Metro there. I think that's probably not going to happen here, but kind of interesting that the newest European does show that information there. Probably some kind of little convergence activity as some northerlies try to make their way down, or some easterlies are meeting up with some southerly winds here as this system eventually starts to pivot off our coastline and pull this cooler air down across the area and out over into western Washington and Oregon. Now, taking a look here, this is a wide look at the NAM 3KM. You can see this is about current here, and you can see a little bit of snow up towards Bellingham. Go through the day today, shows a little bit of snow, maybe this evening towards Kitsap Peninsula here. Shouldn't be too much. It shouldn't be too disruptive out there, but you can see the low kind of pulling away from the coastline here, and look at it really target southern Oregon here, Sierra Nevada through California, and you can kind of see this deformation band continuing across Oregon here. Might bring some decent snowfalls with this as this verifies on the NAM. This is early Wednesday morning, late Tuesday night here, but you can see the Sierra Nevada is going to get plenty of snowfall as they go on in through the extended here. Let's let that run one more time. You can see a little bit of snow for Southern California here as well, but maybe get a little bit of surprise snow here across eastern Oregon as we go through Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. And you can see the snow bands lift back up over Idaho and Montana here as we go through Wednesday morning as well. It's the state of Washington, Portland, Willamette Valley start to dry out here as you go on in through Wednesday. Now, taking a look here, this is the NAM showing its snow accumulations. Actually doing pretty well here. Look at this, showing that precipitation sticking in the form of snow up towards Bellingham there. And you can see it shows that as we go on into this evening and tonight for the Kitsap Peninsula, and even for the north slopes of the Olympic Mountains there, and maybe even portions near Victoria, maybe getting a little bit of snow falling around there. But again, most of that snow should be confined to the Cascades, not a big dynamic system by any means, like I said before. Now let's go ahead and look at this. This is snow total on the HRRR. Picks up a little bit of that Kitsap Peninsula stuff. Did maybe just kind of highlighted a little bit of that snow falling up towards Bellingham. But anyway, looking at the high resolution models here, just that they are, you know, there is some use to them here. You can see the HRRR picked that up a little bit, maybe a little bit for the Kitsap Peninsula this evening. Now this is looking at the NAM, the dew point. You can see the dry air coming with that Fraser River outflow across Bellingham here, across the San Juans as we go through the day today. And as we go through this evening and tonight, you can see some of that dry air finally start to filter out from the east across places north of Seattle. Look at some of the dew points here across Bellingham, Abbotsford, starting to drop into the teens here as that very dry air moves in here. But by this time, the moisture should be waning up here across the northern interior. But you'll notice it takes a while for this drier air to get down into the Puget Sound, probably not towards Tuesday night. But you can see it kind of overspreading the region here all the way out across Oregon coastal range through the Willamette Valley. It kind of slowly creeps in across the area here. As we go on in through Wednesday, look at eastern Washington, though, some pretty dry, chilly air on its way. Now, again, this is looking at 18,000 feet. I like to show this polar lobe here. Here we are currently moving through, and this will eventually kick off as we go through midweek. But it is pretty, we're close to record low temperatures at 18,000 feet. So pretty substantial polar lobe moving over the region this time of year here. It's just not quite cold enough and strong enough to bring a substantial snowfall down to the sea level, just a little bit too early in the year. Now, this is where we are currently today. This is I believe 850 millibars, no, 500 millibars, 18,000 feet here. So you can see we're right down towards these blue lines where the record low temperatures at 500 millibars, 18,000 feet. So very chilly air aloft, unseasonably cold polar lobe moving over the region here. But you can see as you get towards December, January, these air masses can be colder when you get these big polar lobes moving over the region. It really extends all the way towards the end of February. You get some really chilly air aloft. And you can see we're just a little bit early in the season. It starts to cool off quite a bit here, but it's not as cold as what can happen during December, January, and February here. So what we're looking at here is a pressure gradient difference between Bellingham and Lake Williams here. You can see it's negative 13.3. It means that the pressure is higher in Lake Williams, means that northeast wind is going to be flowing down the river valley out over the San Juans and across some of the northwest interior there. So you can see it did peak last night and then it weakened a bit. Now it's bouncing back a little bit here. So it's probably will continue on in through tomorrow. But this is probably helping bring to some of that dry, cool air into the Bellingham region, causing some of that locally accumulating snowfall up there. Now, taking a look here, you can see that northeast wind moving out of the Fraser River Valley across the San Juans towards the north slopes of the Olympic Mountains here. And these winds can pick up a little bit of moisture here, and that's what can cause some snowfall here, some local amounts to accumulate along the north slopes of the Olympic Mountains. You see, we still have some southeasterly winds coming up to Puget Sound. We may get a little bit of wet snow in here, probably not going to accumulate much as some of this precipitation moves northward. But you can see gusting 30 miles an hour, last observation there in Bellingham out of the northeast. Now taking a look here, this is current. You can see that higher pressure is about where Lake Williams is here. Bellingham's here, lower pressure in Bellingham. So this air is going to flow off the continent through the river valley here and come out through that cold air conduit. We also have cold air conduits here for the Okanagan River Valley and the Purcell Trench here out in eastern Washington, Idaho Panhandle as well. So we're going to be having this offshore flow take over the region here over the next couple of days. We're going to dry out. As you can see here, the storm is going to dive down towards California. You can see this high pressure continuing. We're going to dry out from north to south across the region there and bring some chilly air into the area, especially east of the Cascades. But a nice storm here for the Sierra Nevada here, as we saw in some of those graphics earlier. Now looking here, this is the northern hemisphere. Let's zoom in a little bit here. You can see this is the northern hemisphere here. Here's Russia. There's Japan over here. There's Hawaii, Pacific Ocean, Alaska, BC, Washington, Oregon. There's the polar lobe on us now, moving down towards California. Then we're going to get some ridging to build in here, and the models have kind of been swapping back and forth here on what kind of systems, if any, are going to come underneath this ridge and affect western Washington and some of BC, Oregon, Pacific Northwest in general. But you can see the ridge has kind of been showing to be pretty strong here. But as we go on into the extended here a little bit, you can kind of see how this ridge sets up. This pushes off to the west a little bit. We could get another little clip from a polar lobe here. This would be on into the following week here. We're just kind of trying to pick up some patterns on what's coming up here through the extended. But some of the models have been showing some precipitation moving up under the south side of this ridge here and getting us. So I'm not taking any one of these model runs, you know, as gospel here coming up. These are changing quite rapidly here in this ridge position, especially this time of year is probably going to change, you know, numerous times as we go on through the extended forecast coming up here. Now looking at Seattle, Tacoma, temperatures that can be expected, you can see down into the 20s even possible for a couple of days here midweek as that cool air finally sags over the region. But daytime highs are probably going to be in the mid 40s, but you will feel that chill, especially overnight and in the morning. Spokane, look at this, down towards 10 degrees possible out there. You know, watch out. Some of the high is not even getting barely above freezing here as we go on in through later this week. This is for Boise. You can see the cold air really settle down over the region here too as we go through mid and later this week as well. And now taking a look, Mount Shasta down there through California, probably going to get a nice dose of snowfall here as this system moves through the area. And this is not that far from I-5. So watch out if you're traveling down through the Siskiyous over the next couple of days here through Northern California, Southern Oregon here. And as we talked about, Eastern Oregon could be getting some snowfall as we go here. So nice snow coming down through California here. Watch out, travelers. Seattle, Tacoma. So this is the precipitation we've been dealing with here. This is going to come to an abrupt end here by the time Tuesday rolls around. And you can see a pretty dry period coming here for probably about a week. And then the potential for systems comes rolling back around here. And we usually don't get too much of a break here in November. It is our rainy month here. So this is probably good confidence that we are going to get some Pacific systems back into the region here at this time. But again, we'll just watch that day by day here and we'll try to pinpoint the pattern here as models are in flux. Now you can see we had some changes from yesterday here. This is a Pacific North American oscillation. This is a Canadian ensemble here. You can see we returned to positive values here for a bit, but by mid-November, it looks like we're going to drop back down into negative territory again, potentially. This is a GFS ensemble showing similar here, but a little bit later transition in towards later November into negative territory again. This oscillation bounces back every 1 to 2 weeks here. So this can be expected that we're probably going to return to a more active period as we go through the later portion of November. European kind of showing that too, the transition happening about mid-November as well. So we'll see how that goes. We'll continue to watch it. And now it's showing you this is a positive look at things. This would be Pacific North American oscillation positive here. So we expect the ridging to be on the west coast of North America here, kind of shielding us from the worst of the storms. And this would be the negative values, what we just went through now. And, you know, a few weeks ago, we were looking at this oscillation here. And it did pan out quite well. You know, the models picked it up quite well, especially the European with that ridging offshore allows us cool north and northwesterly flow across the Pacific Northwest. Now taking a look here at the total precipitation, let's just let this run through here. You can see, so you can get a timeline here. You can see some additional precip coming across western Washington here, down the coastline, and you see it really pick up through the Sierra Nevadas here as we move through Tuesday. Southern California getting a good dose of rainfall here. So very nice for California coming up here, but we're going to dry out here as we go on in through Tuesday, like I said, across BC, Washington, Oregon, as we go further south. But you can see, watch this as we go through Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Precipitation falling there across southern Oregon. This is a drought-stricken region, and this would be very beneficial. Hopefully it can move up a little bit further into the east slopes of the Cascades as well. So cross your fingers for that down there through eastern Oregon. Now taking a look at the snowfall here, Kuchera ratio, you can see the additional snowfall buildup across the Cascades of Washington, coastal range there, even down towards Kitsap Peninsula a little bit maybe tonight. But look at the amounts coming through the Sierra Nevada here, even through portions of Nevada, Idaho, and Montana. As this system moves through, is going to get additional snowfall as it kicks off to the north and east here. But look at southern Oregon here. I mean, cross your fingers down there. This would be nice to have it. This could be a snowstorm down there for Klamath Falls as well. Some pretty good snowfall moving through the area here through Oregon. So we'll take a closer look at that on tomorrow's forecast also and see if the models stick around for this. This will be tomorrow night, really, when the bulk of that snow would move through the area. So tomorrow morning, we'll take a look at that again. So yeah, this is the system coming down. Again, just not quite strong enough of an air mass to really bring a substantial snowstorm to the lowlands. Let's hope we're not wasting one of our main chances here, and let's hope we can flirt with this Arctic air again. That's if you love snow. If not, of course, you're wishing against that. But then we're going to dry out here for a few days, yeah, and then we're going to start to look for the potential. We'll look for that ridging position. We'll try to get some pattern, recognition going on through the extended forecast here and see what kind of precipitation chances are going to start rolling through here through mid and late November. The peak of our stormy season here in the Pacific Northwest, although it is a pretty steady and a very slow decline as we go through February, as we get systems all the way through March and April sometimes as well. So yeah, let's hope we're not wasting one of our snow chances here if you love that lowland snow, but hopefully we can flirt again with it. Odds are that we probably will, being a La Nina year here. So anyway, yeah, click like, subscribe, turn your notifications on, leave some comments below what you'd like to see. I'm trying to cover a little bit more of areas that get active. Like if California gets some active weather, I'll cover some areas down there, or Nevada, and I cover Idaho, Montana a bit too. And I try to highlight on southern BC, Washington, Oregon for the most part, but I will try to cover other areas as we get active. And if it gets really crazy somewhere else across the US, I'll briefly go over those details as well, or across the world. Maybe I'll look at that if we're having a slow period here in the Pacific Northwest. But anyway, thanks for the comments. Thanks for my new subscribers. Thanks to all my new members here. You guys make this channel possible, and we will do this again tomorrow. I'll talk to you then.